أعوذ بالله من الشياطين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My name is Mr. Sharia. My contact information is researchpublishingmedia@gmail.com. Again, my contact information is researchpublishingmedia@gmail.com. This is in association with Dr. Tutor. Dr. Tutor is my educational platform where we tutor all subjects, but we specifically focus on math analysis, and we tutor from elementary to undergraduate. It's very good for college students at an undergraduate level. It's very good for young children that are developing an educational pattern of learning, and we stress math analysis. Math's so difficult, it makes life easy. As an educator, I focus on how I want to attack ignorance. Again, we're black in America, what the Bible says, the nation of Judah. And so we're dealing with, in the Bible language, biblical circumstances of horror, of ignorance. In planetary, just language, as black people, we're just dealing with a lot of severity of ignorance from the devil. So young black children, to develop a methodology of learning where we will not grow up ignorant. If you look at other races or ethnicities of people, they are progressing as a single nation. They talk about multicultural and all of that, but at the head of the multicultural, that's what we're promoting. It's going to be a race that's doing that. So we are a race of Caucasian people, and up under our system, we have a department called multiculturalism, but that's still Caucasian as a race. So races of people, nations of people are moving forward, and as black in America, we are a nation of people, but because of the devil, we don't understand that. So on one level, as a nation to progress, but also understand the Bible says that we are destroyed, the nation of Judah. So it's just how, as a parent or as a supervisor of some young people, right? Don't just let them grow up dumb to be nothing. It's all types of things that we need to be doing as black people, young black people, and learning. So I have a curriculum, right, that I'm perfecting for a young person, for young people, specifically the young black man. You got that young son, he about 5 or 6, he very energetic, right? He not dead in the head. He got a lot of life, right? That flower. And so, yeah, listen, the research library is off the chain, brothers and sisters. And so I have a curriculum that I want to implement for that young brother's learning so he can grow up and be phenomenal. He can grow up and just be phenomenal. Okay, so that's Dr. Tutor. That's also in association with what I call a leadership conference. Leadership conference is not necessarily education like mathematics. The leadership conference is more like, as a young black man, how do you stand before the world and give guidance, not professing no ignorance? So it's like, making Moses. Moses had to stand in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and then he had a speech impediment. You understand what I'm saying? So how do you assume that Moses' position? How do you assume that Jesus' position to stand in front of the world of black people to provide correct guidance. The book of Proverbs says that the nation, the black man and black woman in America is the lawgiver. We give the law. But as devils, we're not giving no law. That's why the world is in so much conflict, because the black man and black woman in America is destroyed. So how do you put yourself back together? Well, you have to first seek ye the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness. You have to seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness. 5 prayers a day. You have to believe in God, fasting for God, charity, and making a pilgrimage or paying respects to your ancestors. And so I had a couple of thoughts. You know, God opened that thing up, right? So what do we want? Let me just put some things on the board first. Let me put Kemet up. Okay, yeah, let me put Kemet up here. We want to take a look at Kemet right quick. Brothers and sisters, I had some good, right? They got this room where they got a computer hooked up to the room, to a big television, where you can just see the computer on the, like you can see the internet on the television screen. But we done had some technical difficulties, you know what I'm saying? So we can't do that right now, but we want to get into ballistics, and they had it where you can just see. I had to, we're going to talk about it, but I got some new information on ballistics, and to how the diagram on the TV screen is just real nice, right? So we don't have that right now, but inshallah we might be able to get that back. Okay, I'm gonna put Kemet right here. I'm gonna put the Kaaba right here. Okay. Also, we have my brother, Minister Eric Muhammad, and this is Muhammad Temple, number 15. And this brother, this temple is located in Atlanta, Georgia. And he had another powerful lecture. He has lectures every Sunday at 2 o'clock, and you can see his lectures on YouTube. They have a social media platform called YouTube, and he has a YouTube channel with his name, Minister Eric Muhammad, and he comes on every Sunday at 2 o'clock. He's located in Atlanta, Georgia. And so again, every time I get in the spirit, right? And so once the Spirit of God take you over, that's just on a whole separate pinnacle as far as how I feel. But every time I think about this brother, it's so much we can do with this brother, because, okay, so it's guidance. Guidance. Let me give it to you again. Guidance. Guidance. Coincides with leadership. If you have no correct guidance, you have no correct leadership, then your footsteps from what you're thinking, your heaven and your earth, is going to the hellfire. Now the hellfire could be when you die, the hellfire, or you can create your hell in this world, incarcerated for crazy amounts of time. Homosexuality. With no correct guidance, you out here a faggot, having sex with men, women having sex with women, correct? Listening to it. So it's guidance, correct guidance. So again, Black America is the nation of Judah from the Bible. We're talking about Bible language. You have something called Bible language. The Bible is a book of prophecy. And let me write Ezra on the board so I won't forget. because I read the book of Ezra, and it was actually, it brought back memories. It was actually very beautiful, and we're going to understand God is just powerful. But the Bible says that the black man and black woman in America is the nation of Judah. When you look out across American society, who is the leader or who is the guidance for black people in America with a history of chattel slavery? Well, you say God is our guidance. That's correct. But you don't believe in God. You don't even know what scripture, how to translate the scripture. You know nothing about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Nothing about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He is the only really guidance. God came to the black man and black woman in America as it was prophesied. All the prophets, the nations of prophets prophesied that God would come. The book of Zechariah said that God would send the word, a special word, because the nation of Judah would be destroyed as prophesied in the Bible. So God, in having destroyed us, is not going to let us be amongst the 12 nations, 11 nations, amongst our brothers in our destroyed state. So he sent that word to protect us. And that word set with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Judah, the nation of Judah, right? So who is providing guidance? Now again, we have black men that have assumed a certain type of educational, where they got doctorates, right? I don't want to, you can talk about Dr. Umar Ifatunde, and then, we have Dr. Watkins, but, and I'm not taking away from either one of them brothers, and at one point in time, before I started really talking about the Bible, and this brother right here, Minister Eric Muhammad, really the loudest voice in America, like if you want to protect yourself from this wickedness, and it's going to just get severe now. It's going to get extreme severe. I've never seen, so Dr. Watkins was the best solution for our sickness, because he's strictly dealing with, you have a financial disease, and a lot of times as black people from chattel slavery, never having nothing, we then minimum waged it out. To have that financial freedom will alleviate a lot of stress and anxiety. But you're still going to have problems with God. God will bless you with finance to blind you until you die and you go into the grave. And you have made no type of covenant as far as understanding your covenant with God, where you in the hellfire. So we have no leadership, correct leadership. And as young black men and women, because we have no leadership, we have assumed our own leadership with the music, with the entertainment. We'll gravitate towards a musician. We'll gravitate towards some type of actor or actress, right? That's still on a financial level. That's why God then blessed us with Dr. Watkins to take us away from illusionary wealth, where you can actually put some money in your pocket that'll start alleviating the stress from your brain. At the same time, Dr. Watkins recognizes what has been done to him and me, right? But to take them steps. So it's the most honorable Elijah Muhammad as far as leadership. What the Bible say. Always understand, brothers and sisters, do not let these people hustle you. America is a Christianity country. That's the Bible. Okay. Wherever you go on the planet, even when you talk about communism in China, and you got certain, I think North Korea is also a communist country. But that's really the government and that group of people. If you actually look at the people, wherever you go, that group of people are being governed by some type of religion. So in America, it's Christianity, and the Christianity book is the Bible. But we know the Bible originates from some type of knowledge, intelligence, what God is saying from this time period right here, going back to antiquity. But it's the nation of Judah, right? That's what God said. God says that the black man and black woman in America is the lawgiver. So the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he set the foundation for guidance for black people in America, who we are, and that's the guidance for the planet. Okay, so then you have Minister Louis Farrakhan. Now, Minister Louis Farrakhan is not Judah. He's not from the nation of Judah. He's from the nation of Benjamin. He's from Jamaica, or he has Jamaican ancestry. That's very important to understand. Now, I'm not taking away from that brother's greatness as far as the work he didn't put in. You know, again, there's no way I can even, the only reason why I even bring him up, I don't mean to disrespect, I mean the only reason why I speak on him, because I'm not in a position to, is just so we understand that what are you going to do, black man and black woman in America? What are you going to do? So, Minister Louis Farrakhan is the nation of Benjamin. He thinks a totally separate way. So you're going to be in conflict now. We're from the children of Abraham. We're Abraham's son. We believe in the God of Abraham. But again, it's the same daddy, different mothers. So God already tells us in the Bible that we don't think alike. We have different maneuvers. God says that the nation of Benjamin will be a ravenous wolf during the day, and at nighttime he will divide the spoil. God has nothing to, if you talking about you, the nation of Judah, and you talking about you a ravenous wolf, God say no. And then you talking about you going to divide the spoil at night. How you, first of all, you're not a ravenous wolf, so what spoil are you going to divide? Only the spoil that the nation of Benjamin give you. That's his prophecy. That's their prophecy. God says that the nation of Judah will be the lawgiver. So how can Minister Farrakhan give the law when he dividing the spoil? No, he can't give the law and divide the spoil. He divides the spoil, Judah gives the law. Guidance. So that's a severity confusion. But during these times of our destruction, our brother, Benjamin, has been there for us. And he has built the kingdom to a certain point where there has been protection for us. Correct? Up until a point where now, depending on how the stars are aligned in the universe, we have a brother, Minister Eric Muhammad, Judah. He's representing Judah. So for the black man and black woman in America to gather themselves just for guidance, what direction are we moving in as a nation? Always understand now, seek ye first the kingdom of God. God is our guidance. We don't believe in God. We so far from what God is. Well, God in the Bible, we don't read the Bible. God in the Holy Quran, we don't read the Holy Quran. We don't even have no knowledge that it's separate books out here that can guide us. So I just wanted to stress that this brother right here, Minister Eric Muhammad Temple number 15, every Sunday he gives a lecture. He's going to give you about 2 or 3 hours of just something to get your mind focused away from ignorance. If it's nothing else, just to get your mind away from ignorance, for guidance. I really like this. I really do like this because when the most honorable Elijah Muhammad passed on, and we were gathering up under Minister Louis Farrakhan up until like the 90s, and then it's like we don't understand what direction he's moved in. Well, that's Benjamin, and we respect our brother, and that's just the direction he done went in. But Judah is the lawgiver, and so out of all of that, you know, like, damn, not really what we're going to do. It's because it's God. 5 prayers a day. You first have to believe in God. This is when we ain't got no leader, no king, how the Bible say. Believe in God. Prophet Muhammad say 5 prayers a day. 5 prayers a day. 5 prayers a day. It's a way you pray, right? Charity, fasting, make your pilgrimage. That's you with no king. Or, well, that's you with no king. Right? That's God. How you get with God. Let God be your king. And then from that, we have guidance. Minister Eric Muhammad Temple number 15. Okay, believe in God, 5 prayers a day, charity, fasting, the pilgrimage. Okay. I really like this because for so long we have been by ourselves. And you know, we're grouped together. And even with the organizations that we have, we don't really come together no more. I think about all we have, like they still have like festivals, right, and things like that. But all of that's really, it's like a dead spirit. Like when you talk about Freaknik, right? Now, you know the things we do when we get intoxicated, right? And then that's a lot of wickedness. But that spirit, when what they call Freaknik, like we was alive. Right? But now every time we come together, it's like we just, our spirit dead. And that's something we should look at because the prophecies in the Bible are being fulfilled. But again, to come together, like when you do go to a celebration or some type of festival, not everybody's on the same mindset. Not that we fighting and acting a fool, but I'm over here playing with the cotton candy. Somebody might be over there messing with the ribs, the beef ribs. Or somebody over there such and such and such and such. So it's not that we all just going to be holding hands, but it's a place for us to gather where God will bless us, where it ain't going to be no craziness. Okay. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he set the foundation for the nation of Judah. And again, I thank you, Almighty Allah, for blessing us. A lot of times we're very unappreciative. Okay, believe in God, 5 prayers a day, charity, fasting, pilgrimage. Black man and black woman in America, you have to put your brain back together for 300 plus years of chattel slavery, and then another 100 years of spiritual mental slavery, which is going on 2024. Mental slaves. We choose to now be a slave to the devil. Okay. Now, when you talk about the book of Ezra, I read the book of Ezra, right? And the brothers say that's why I wish I could have got this computer going so we can actually see the Bible verse where you can read it. But when you read the book of Ezra, when they introduce Ezra, let's see if we can just go to it. It's real powerful. Now we got this brother, again, the most we have Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam under his leadership. That's a nation of Benjamin Kingdom. But he got the brother Dr. Ridgely Muhammad. Dr. Ridgely Muhammad, he a doctor, but he's a farmer. And he has Muhammad Farms. That's also in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's another good place. Well, all praise to you, Allah, Lord in the world. But Dr. Ridgely, or Dr. Muhammad, is also a scholar in Kemet, Commission Code. Like, he know all of that, right? It's on that call. Well, if you start talking about, like, the House of Consciousness and my brother Sinetta and what they got going on in New York. I mean, New York, them brothers always tight. They always got something for you, right? But when you start talking about, well, you know, it's a certain type of discipline, Dr. Ridgely Muhammad gonna have that knowledge for you about what's going on. And so Dr. Muhammad said that it was Ezra that wrote the Bible. And so I wanted to get an understanding of why would he say that, right? And we also have, let's go to let me let this phone cut on for a second. And so you have Bible history, right? Adam being created from the ground. The Quran say that God shaped Adam from black mud. So that's a certain type of biblical history. Then you have planetary history. But when you do talk about Kemet, you have some people called the Hyksos that came into Kemet, and they ruled Kemet for about 100 years, and that's documented somewhere. And so you have Bible history, and you have planetary history. And sometimes the Bible history of being planetary history, where we see that in the history of the planet, but you don't find certain history in the Bible that's in planetary history, so that could be something that's made up. So we want to get an understanding too. I do believe that there was a kingdom called Babylon at a specific time in planetary history, and that was during the rule. We had a ruler named King Darius, and so that history is true, right? That's like a real, Babylon was a real type of rulership on the planet. I think they were before the rulership of Persia, or Babylon is Persia, right? But at one time it was a great power. And then I think after Babylon and Persia came, when Turkey, the Muslims, Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, and from the Ottoman Empire, we now have the rulership of the Caucasian from Europe, like Rome and Greece or Italy, England. But that starts with Babylon, from Commission rulership. And so what you do learn, right, you do learn that Babylon was destroyed from a plague. They caught a plague and it wiped out their entire civilization, where they were so weak that they were easily destroyed by, I believe it was either Persia or Turkey, what they call Turkey now. But during the rulership of Kemet, when you're coming up towards like 0 AK, when you go from like 100K to like 0 AK during the time of Jesus, Babylon is somewhere, right before the time of Jesus. Babylon is in rulership and came in and they took some of these, God calls us like that jewel, that sunlight. So he say, what they call them? In the book of Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, correct? And these were like the top scholars. Okay, but in that theme of who we are, Babylon came in and took the most intelligent and took them to Babylon. And this is what this brother Ezra represents. And so again, the brothers say that he said that Ezra wrote the Bible, and this is why initially, this is why he says that. So when we go to Ezra, hold on one second. Let me see if I can go to it, right? To perfect my thing, right? Let's see if we go to Ezra. We go to Ezra 3. Let's see what it says. Okay, it's not Ezra 3. We go to Ezra 4. Okay, hold on one second, brothers and sisters. Okay, so it's in Ezra 7. This is where Ezra is introduced. Now understand now, when you go on the internet, let's do it right now. Let's go to let's ask the computer. Let's ask the computer who wrote the Bible. Who wrote the Bible? The Bible was written by multiple authors over many centuries. It's divided into two main sections. Okay. But so he don't know. The computer don't know. I asked the computer one time before. The computer said the greatest mystery. The computer said that out of everything that we know as people on the planet, the greatest mystery is who wrote the Bible, right? Okay. But when you mess with Dr. Ridgely and you start getting into his books, he got some powerful books. He tell you in, I think it's I Will Not Apologize, The Master Architect. I believe it's that book where he says that it's either that book or Commonomics. But either one of them books, he says Ezra wrote the Bible. And so, you know, now again, he's a doctor. So that's a lot of research. But assuming just from this one, what it says right here in the Bible, this is Ezra chapter 7. Now after these things, Ezra, in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of Persia. So we're talking about Persia. I think Babylon had failed. That's a good point. Let's see about Babylon. Is Babylon a real place in history? Yes, Babylon was a real place in history. It was an ancient city located in Mesopotamia. Okay, so let's say, is Babylon Persia? Is Babylon the Persian Empire? The Persian Empire? Is Babylon? No, Babylon and the Persian Empire are distinct entities. Okay, so the Persian Empire, let's pay attention now. The Persian Empire conquered Babylon. I believe that's King Darius. King Darius was a beast. He was like what's our brother Salahuddin. We had a Muslim brother that was in rulership. King Darius was on the level like Salahuddin. And so listen to what God say in the Bible now. Before, when we was in Jerusalem, I don't know the king at that time that was ruling, but I do remember that the king, he had a priest. This was, I don't know if it was Judah. It might have been Judah. I'm not even sure. But somebody came from Babylon, right? And the king, you know, we real friendly, right? The king brought him in and showed him everything they had, right? Then whoever was the prophet at that time said that same person gonna come back and put you in bondage. And that's what happened. Babylon came back and took over Judah or Jerusalem. But God told everybody in Jerusalem, God said, listen, suck it up, humble yourself. I'm going to let, because Judah and Israel and Jerusalem was wicked. They had took on the gods of the land, strange gods of the land. They were just in wickedness. So God said, look, He's going to clean all that up. So He's going to bring Babylon in. He's going to make Israel subservient to Babylon. He said, look, let Babylon take care of you, right? Just go where they are, eat the king's meat, and just be patient. And I'm going to bring somebody down to destroy Babylon. So this is what happened in history. Now, when this was written, compared to when it actually happened in history, is what we really need to understand when we talk about prophecy. If you know where the money is tomorrow, then you will know where to put your money today. Okay. So, Babylon came in, took these scholars back to where they were, and then had Ezra and all of these people translate the hieroglyphs, the antiquity, knowledge, and wisdom, translate that information into the Bible. Now that's a generality of what's going on, but I believe that's correct. When we start talking about, well, how did the European get the Bible? Remember now, they was in the caves and hillsides of Europe for 4,000 years, 2,000 years, and then they came out of the caves with knowledge. So you need someone, always understand that Daniel seen the writing on the wall, and he knew how to read the writings. So that's a whole separate language, and the only writings that you have on the walls is the walls and the tombs in Kemet. That's the only information that's going to give you something, knowledge as far as God. So let's read what it says. This Ezra, this is verse 6, Ezra 7. This Ezra went up from Babylon, and he was a ready scribe in the law of Moses, which the Lord God of Israel had given. Let me read it again. This Ezra went up from Babylon, and he was a ready scribe in the law of Moses. So that's a first reference, analysis. You got to put your brain back together. That's a first analysis that we have Ezra, who was a scribe in the law of Moses. That's very important. Okay, let's see if we can read it again. They got one more reference. Then you go to verse 10. For Ezra had prepared his heart to seek the law of the Lord, and to do it, and to teach in Israel statutes and judgments. So when you read the book of Proverbs, that's just a book of statutes and judgments. When you read the book of Psalms, that's a book of statutes and judgments. So from them two verses, right, you can start, that's a phenomenal jump, how he went from just those two verses to Ezra writing the Bible. But when you, again, he's a doctor, and when you get into the spirit, God can show you them things. So that's a little something about Ezra writing the Bible. And let's see if we ask the computer. Let's ask the computer, did Ezra write the Bible? Write the Bible? Did Ezra write the Bible? Ezra didn't write the entire Bible, but he is traditionally credited. Okay. Right? So initially when we asked the computer, he ain't say nothing about Ezra, right? Ezra was a priest and scribe who played a significant role in the restoration of Israel after the Babylonian exile. Okay, that's real powerful, because if you further listen to what Dr. Ridgely speaks on, he says that what they did was, when they took these brothers and these sisters to Babylon, it's almost like the Willie Lynch, right, where they tried to buck break them, right, then send them back amongst their people to create mischief and confusion, right, where you now talking about like a Caucasian Jesus Christ and all of that. So listen to what it say now. Ezra was a priest and scribe who played a significant role in the restoration, right, in the restoration of Israel after the Babylonian exile. So Babylon and that exile from Kemet was real, very real, right? So it's how they did with slavery, when the Caucasian Jew would have a black child with a black woman, and then they would send what they call a licado. They would send him, because he was in black skin, he could go up in amongst black people and create that type of deceit and division to get the whole thing with slavery going. So again, that's something to really look at. And again, you hear the talking. So again, to keep it at a certain level, whereas professionalism, we're going to try to keep it moving. Okay. And what we should do, brothers and sisters, is just understand. Now, I have this on the board for a specific reason. And I always understand now, it's to steal a hearing. If we can go, let's go to that verse. We talk about stealing a hearing. If we put in, let's put in, let's see what God says. If we say steal a hearing, let's really understand that. We're going to try to see if we can get it from the Bible and the Quran. Still hearing, Quran verse. Okay, that's going to be verse 72. Chapter 72. Chapter 72, verse 9. Now this is in the Holy Quran, brothers and sisters. Verse 9. Okay, now this is chapter 72. Suratul Jinni, the jinn, or the Gentile. Right? You got jinn, which is general, or jinn. Let me write this on the board. You have Gentiles. Now, let's first of all, let me write on the board. Gentiles. Now, we talk about Gentiles. Gentiles are heathens. And we talking about the Caucasian, the European. That's how Gentiles originate. But let's ask the computer, what is a Gentile? Gentile. What is a Gentile? A Gentile. What is a Gentile? In biblical and historical context, a Gentile refers to a person who is not Jewish. Okay, that's real powerful, right? Because I was thinking more meant Caucasian people, but in a religious Jewish context, you talking about Caucasian Jews saying that whoever's not Jewish. Okay, so let's look at it like this, right? From the Quran, how is jinn and Gentile similar? In the Quran, both jinn and Gentiles are seen as distinct from primary religious community of believers, while humans, including Gentiles, are created from clay. Jinn are created from smokeless fire. Okay, so the computer's not going to give us like something we can see with that, right? But let's understand. When we talk about the grafting of the Caucasian on the Aegean Islands, okay, so you have islands. Remember, this is Kemet, this is the Kaaba, and then you have the Aegean Islands. Hold on one second. You have the Aegean Islands. So islands is isles, and jinn is just jinn from the Quran. So you have some people created from fire, right? So that's the only confusion. Well, no, that's very correct. Oh, that's very correct. Because when you talk about the grafting of the Caucasian, they initially started with the black Arabian. Caucasian people are grafted from black people from Arabia. At that time, you're talking about black people with burnt skin, right? Oh, that's real powerful. That's beautiful. So that's where the jinn come in at. Oh, that's powerful. What is it? 2024? What's today's date? I think the day is the 21st of October. What? So now we just got a clear understanding when you read the Quran. And the Quran says jinn, right? We always get confused because we know the jinn to be Caucasian people or some type of heathen, but I always get stumbled because it say the jinn was created from fire, right? But no, now that we understand, this jinn is the black man and black woman in Arabia, right? That joined into the grafting process, because now it's Gentiles. And they went to the isles of the Aegean, they went to the Aegean Islands, right? Because the whole time now, we still trying to get that understanding of this grafting process of the Caucasian. Like, we want to understand that. That's real powerful. We thank you, Almighty Allah, for that. So jinn is Gentiles. So when we read the jinn, so the devil in the Bible, so the devil in the Quran is the black man and black woman from Arabia. That what was it, 59,999, and Yaqub made 60,000. So that's real good. That's actually very good. So I'm going to say it one more time. The jinn, when you read the Holy Quran, And whenever the Quran references jinn, right, you start looking at the jinn were made from fire. The jinn in the Holy Quran is the black man and black woman from Arabia that went to the Aegean Islands. That's where you get Gentiles from. And they participated in the grafting process of the Caucasian, from black to Caucasian. Okay. That was very powerful. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. I'm going to leave the Aegean Islands up here. But let's read what it says about the Gentile. This is chapter 72, Suratul Jinnid. Suratul Jinnid. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, say, cool. It has been revealed to me that a party of the jinn listened. So they said, surely we have heard a wonderful Quran. And that part used to always mess me up, right? Because we do have Caucasian people that are Muslim, right? So I used to really get messed up with that, because I was like, that's like, nah, you ain't around no Caucasian people where they ain't gonna respect no word of God. Not like this. Like, it has been revealed to me that a party of the jinn listened. So listen to what they said now. So they said, surely we have heard a wonderful Quran. No, you ain't gonna have no Caucasian people that's gonna tell you something like that. Not from no Europe. But now that we understand the jinn is black people. Yeah, black man, black woman all day gonna tell you, surely we have heard a wonderful Quran, guiding to the right way, so we believe in it, and we shall not set up anyone with God. And he, exalted be the majesty of our Lord, has not taken a consort, nor a son. And the foolish among us used to forge extravagant lies against the law, and we thought that men and jinn did not utter a lie against the law. And persons from among men used to seek refuge with persons from among the jinn. So they increased them in evil doing, and they thought as you think, that Allah would not raise anyone, and we sought to reach heaven, but we found it with strong guards and flames, and we used to sit in some of the sitting. Listen, now this is the point. Now this is verse 9, and we used to sit in some of the sitting places. You see how powerful the Quranic scripture is? Like, let's understand this, brothers and sisters. We say we lost in the world, and we have no guidance, and we always looking for incorrect guidance, and we don't never listen and understand. Like when the Quran says that I seek refuge, this is chapter 114 in the Holy Quran. The Prophet Muhammad, he had a revelation where he said he seeks refuge with God from the slinking devil who whispers. Right? The whisperer. When you go to the Bible talks about how one of the prophets, God took one of the prophets up into the wall. That's just behind the veil. Right? Like people behind the walls whispering to you. They said that the brother Jacob, he was a dweller of the tents. So when you want a tent, right, that's a severe type of whispering. People whispering behind objects. Right, it's a whisperer. The Bible said this book was written 1,400 years ago. Not 2024, not 1950, not the 1800s. But 1,400 years ago, there was a black man that was dealing with this same wickedness. A whisperer. The Quran says that, no, the Bible says that in the book of Proverbs. The Bible says that it is the whisperer that separates best friends. We best friends. But now the whisperer behind the walls, behind the veils, right, a hiding place, whispers and separates the best of friends. The whisperer, how you going crazy in your mind, or separates you from yourself. Well, now you naked running down the street having sex with animals in same-sex marriages. That's a whisperer that then whispered to you to separate you. You are your best friend. So let's understand now. I seek refuge in Allah from the whisperer who whispers into the hearts of men and jinn from among the men and jinn, right? So let's look at this, right? So if you have a whisperer that's whispering into these brothers from Arabia, the jinn, the dark black man and woman, and Jacob was telling them, gathering them up, fooling them with Islam, then Jacob is the devil, the whisperer. That's real powerful. From the slinking devil who whispers. Okay, so when we go to verse 9, chapter 72, let's understand now, it's a sitting position. People are sitting. And we used to sit in some of the sitting places. I love that. Well, like, let's see what that is. Wa'ana kuna na'udu minha makaida lisam'i. We used to sit in some of the, like, that's real powerful, right? Like, when you understand, it's not just, well, we didn't went out the way to whisper or to steal a hearing, to catch something what you saying, so they can put it on some type of national platform to stain your spirit. Always understand now, when we speak about the brother Malcolm when he was with the Nation of Islam, and this was in like 1955. Let's look at this little bit of black history. When we talk about, let's see if they give it to us. I think let's ask the computer again now. If we say, let's say 1955, bomb school, church, what is it? School, church, bombed 4 young girls murdered. Let's see what the computer says. You might be referring to the I like how you say, the computer say tragic bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, where it actually occurred in 1963. I don't know if Malcolm X was speaking in 1963. Let's see if they say who did the bombing. Who did the bombing? Now this occurred in Alabama, 1963. Who did the bombing? The bombing, 4 individuals. Okay, they was in the, okay, they said the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, so the Ku Klux Klan, Caucasian people, bombed a church and killed 4 young black children that were women, 4 young girls. The 4 individuals was, let's listen to the names now. Robert Chambliss, Thomas Blanton, Bobby Frank Cherry, and Herman Cash. Robert Chambliss, Thomas Blanton, Bobby Frank Cherry, and Herman Cash. I think Bobby Cherry, we got another brother that be professing the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. They think they call this brother Dynamite Bob. Let me see something. is Bobby Cherry known as Dynamite Bob? Yes, Bobby Cherry was often referred to as Dynamite Bob due to his involvement in explosives and Klan activities, right? The computer say that, the computer says that, like that's legal. Okay, so it's to steal a hearing, to pain your spirit. Always understand now, persecution worse than slaughter. Right? It's one thing just to kill you, but what if I trap you in your skin? And no matter how often you scream for death, I never let you die. I give you long life. But every day you in your skin, suffering. That's complete hell. Okay. I wanted to ask the computer something else. Maybe that thought will come back to me. Or let's look at it like this. Emmett Till was killed in what year? Was killed in what year? Okay, Emmett Till was killed in 1955. That's a good example. Now let's understand. In 1955, one of the biggest things to happen to Black America was Minister Louis Farrakhan joining the Nation of Islam. Now I'm not trying to bring up to resurrect some trauma. That's not what I'm doing. Listen, it's called to steal a hearing. We know what that is. This is not a friendly society. We're not necessarily wanted. People are not our friends. We have no friends. But the biggest thing to happen to Black America in 1955, if you're talking about prophecy, was for Minister Louis Farrakhan to join the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So, to combat, like that's the spirit of Black people in America, to combat that. Right? Because you're talking about the ministers almost on a level of entertainment celebrity. Right? So they made an example and killed Emmett Till to try to suppress the spirit, because they knew what the minister was going to do once he joined the Nation of Islam. Right? But just to suppress that, to stain that brother's spirit. That's stealing a hearing. They knew that the minister was going to join. He going to the meetings. He actually getting into what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad speaking on. So to take that away from him, what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad say that we come to the meetings and then the FBI and everybody be right outside waiting to try to take away our spirit, how we done rejuvenated our spirit. But listen now, and we used to sit in some of the sitting places. I don't know if you can really understand how profound it is. Because we're talking about 2024. Therefore, to steal a hearing. But listen to what it say now. But he or she who tries to listen now finds a flame lying in wait for them. Right? Let's listen one more time now. And we used to sit in some of the sitting places thereof, talking about the Gentile, thereof to steal a hearing. But he or she who tries to listen now finds a flame lying in wait for them. Very powerful scripture. We thank you, Almighty Lord, for that. Okay. So when you go to the book of Ezra, and you read that Ezra was a scribe at the highest level that had mastery of the teachings of Moses, and you learn that Moses was the one that went into the caves and hillsides of Europe, right, with that math analysis. So that's how we can kind of put together that Moses or Ezra wrote the Bible. Okay. So now I got the Kaaba and I got Kemet. And if you look, the Kaaba is a square structure. It's a square structure. The pyramids in Kemet are also a square structure put together with 4 triangles. The reason why the square is real powerful, because we're talking about area. So we talking about the X direction, we talking about the Y direction. And the area, when you talk about area, that's just land. We talking about farming. So remember now, it's A, say we got A, and we got A here. So the area is A squared. That's area. And then when you talking about volume, volume is 3-dimensional space. That's X, Y, Z. So now you're talking about the air, subatomic particles. When you got A, that's A cubed, correct? So this is why this is important, Cartesian space, with a square, right? And from the square you can get into triangles. The triangle is just this right here, right? And making a triangle like that, you have a 90-degree angle. And it's from the 90-degree angle, or it's from the triangle, where you come out with what is called trigonometric functions. Trigonometric functions. And it's from trigonometric functions now, where you take a finite function, say it's not going to go nowhere, it's just a number. And if you can translate this finite function into trigonometric functions, always understand now, the trigonometric functions is periodic. It's a period, it's periodicity. Periodicity means it's like a circle. If you have a point on a circle and the circle just rotates, that point will always come back around, right? We call that pi. And pi is just the ratio between the circumference of the circle and the diameter. But let's understand, this is what these brothers came out with now. We're just catching up with this. I'm not talking about me personally, I'm talking about the world, planetary world of mathematics only just recently came out with this. If you're talking about the European, that's like 1800s. But let's understand. So you got the sine function, you got the cosine function, you got the tangent function, and there's a couple more, right? But these are the 3 we mainly mess with. And so remember now, we always say tangent, and I got the tangent from my brother. Like a lot of times when he be speaking, it just be profound. I didn't really understand what tangent was until he said it, where I knew how to use it, right? But the tangent is just a straight line. I'm not even going to... I thought I was just going to be able to explain it, right? But it's a little bit more complicated, but I'm going to show you what it is. Well, you have a circle, right? Then you have a point on that circle. And then when you have a straight line that touches that point, touches that circle at only one point, that's what you call a tangent. So we could be speaking on a subject, right? And then we'll get off what we say, like, I done got on a tangent, right? So that means, like, you speaking on a circle rotating, we talk about God, then I might start talking about baseball. Right? I start talking about, from speaking about God, I done got on a tangent. Well, now we talking about baseball, you know? But you got these functions that were created. So you got the sine function. Sine function starts at 0. So say you got sine x. So sine x, when x equals 0, is 0. So it starts off at 0, 1, -1. Now, the sine function is bounded. It's bounded. When we say bounded, it's going to be greater than or equal to -1 or less than or equal to 1. It's never going to be less than -1. It's never going to be greater than 1. That's the sine function. It's bounded. So that means that it starts off at 0. When x is 0, sine of 0 is 0. Then it goes up to 1, comes down to -1, and it just does that. And that's the rotation of the planet on its axis. Notice how the planet is constantly rotating. That's the rotation of the planet around the sun. That's always going on. And then the sun is not rotating on its axis, I would believe, but I believe it's sort of like rotating in space, because you know the universe rotates. But we call this a periodic function. And what that means is you have this point right here to this point right here. And that's a period. Period, it repeats itself. So, when you have a finite function, that means you only know what this function is going to do. Let me get you to understand now. How this is so revolutionary. It really is very revolutionary. So you got this function right here. F of x is equal to, this is an Arabic letter, a hamza. It could be any number, but you have a Cartesian coordinates. And say this function, this is the point right here. It's just a point in space. It's not moving or nothing. But if you can translate this function into a trigonometric function where it has a certain periodicity to it, where you know what it's going to do, like way down the line, then that's where prophecies come in and probability, where even though this function equals hamza, you will know what this function is equal at a certain distance further in the future. Oh, I ain't really do a good job of explaining that. But I pray you can kind of get something from it. We're going to build, like, that's very powerful. They call this, we just was learning it. Where did I get this from? They call it Fourier series. Really, it's infinite series. We have something in mathematics called infinite series. A series is when you have a sequence. You have a sequence, right? You have a sequence. Then you have a series is just the addition of the sequence. So say you have a sequence 1, 2, 3 to 5, right? So a series is just 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. You have a sequence, x sub n, then you have a series, then you have something called an infinite series. But a series is just an addition of the elements or the variables in the sequence. So x sub n is just x1, x2, xn. So this is the sequence. The series of this sequence is x1 plus x2 plus xn. So then you have something called infinite series, right? So again, we're just trying to get to the origin of everything, and then you have some Mr. Fourier. We have a couple people. We have also the Laplace. We got something called the Laplace. Well, it's actually the Fourier series mathematically. It's very powerful. Very, very powerful. Okay. Now I done talk. And so what I want to do is I want to just reference again why I have the Kaaba and Kemet on the board. So let's understand, right? Okay, now when we go to the Bible said, and I saw 4 beasts, and one beast had the face of a man, right? So look now, I first thought about Ptah, right? When you see Ptah, right? When you actually see Ptah's face, you be like, yeah, that's a black man, right? Like, he don't look strange. He look like, he look real deal. Right, so then I was like we still don't know the righteousness of these brothers and these sisters, right? Because if they was righteous, they would still be in rulership. And I said that, so then I looked at it a separate way, right? Because I looked at the previous lecture, and I was saying that because of the structure of the pyramids, that's a reflection of these people being stiff-necked and how they're no longer in power. But I also, it was kind of sort of like favoritism, but really the black people that was ruling Mecca, Arabia, it's called Saudi Arabia. I mean, we're not no Saudis. You understand what I'm saying? So really these people not in power either. You understand? So what I seen was that this is the beast, like when you talk about, yeah, that make a lot of sense, right? Oh, that's probably what it is. Let's read this. Let's read that verse. Now we go to the book of Revelations. Let's go to the book of Revelations. The book of Revelations, hold on one second. Let's see something. If we go to, I saw 4 beasts. We can just go straight to it. If we go to Revelation, and then that might be the book of Revelation. Then we go to let's go to Revelation 2. Okay, this is when he's telling them, certain things about certain angels. Okay, this is verse 4 chapter 4, book of Revelation, and round about the throne, and he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. So look now, we have a black man, look at what a jasper is, or a sardine stone. That's red, like a dark red color. And then they got certain artifacts from Kemet where they got the chair with the lion handles. And then if you look at the back of the seat, they got the brother on there with his wife. He got like a little afro, and he dark red. Okay. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. So whoever wrote this book was looking at the hieroglyphs. And out of the throne proceeded, okay, such and such and such and such. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. Right? That's real powerful. Full of eyes, right? That means they could see the past and they could see the future. But they were beasts. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf, and the third beast had the face of a man. And the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. So it's a lion, a calf, the face of a man or a human being, and a flying eagle. So let's understand, right? So when you go to Kemet and they have these hieroglyphs of human beings with the faces of an animal or a beast, right? So he's seen that. That's Kemet. And then he said one of the beasts had the face of a man. So when you go to the Kaaba, right, that's going to be Muslims. Well, we ain't going to, well, you know what I'm saying? But now, the believers in God then strayed from that path. So this whole area, God destroyed this whole area. Right? Ain't that powerful? That's real powerful. Okay, so that's the one argument. Compared to, well, when you look at Ptah looked real deal. Right? That brother looked beautiful. But he in Kemet. Right? So what's going on with Kemet? And the vain imaginations where they're no longer in rulership. Okay, so I seen that, and that's just something to really look at, because we really not in rulership. We don't control the Kaaba, even though we built the Kaaba. We built all of this, but we don't control it no longer. So why, if we are in righteousness, would God remove us from our place of prominence? So the third beast had the face of a man. That could be these brothers and sisters right here. And at that time period, are straying away from the correct path. So I seen that, I wanted to make reference to that. Okay, so let's see what time it is and where we are. There's so much to really talk about, right? Okay, we coming up on 1 o'clock. What is it, from 1 to 2? Ooh. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, right? What I want to do, we're going to try to cover the last 30 minutes. I wanted to give a little bit more time, right, to the ballistics, but we're going to keep it moving, right? So let's go to, let me put this math problem on the board again. Math analysis. Math's so difficult. Math's so difficult. It makes life easy. And I have put this math problem on the board, right? So we're going to look at it, we're going to solve it right quick, and then we're going to try to get into some ballistics. Okay. So let's look at what this problem says. Math analysis now. Let's understand, brothers and sisters, we really have to master this. Let F and let F be continuous along the closed bounded interval 0, 1, and F of 0 equals F of 1. Prove there exists X sub 0 and 0 1/2 the interval such that F of X sub 0 equals F of X sub 0 plus 1/2. Now let's look at that, brothers and sisters. Look at this math analysis problem. Let's look at it. It says let F in the continuous, okay. Let F in the continuous interval 0 to 1, that means that the function F is continuous in that interval or set, and let the function of 0 equal to function of 1. That's the problem. That's like a boundary conditions. Prove there exists, again the backwards E means there exists X sub 0, which can be found in this interval 0 to 1/2. It's a closed bounded interval such that the function F of X sub 0 is equal to the function of X sub 0 plus 1/2. Look at that problem and just look at it. What can you do with it? How do you approach that? And I'm glad God brought me to this point. Again, we're dealing with a severe affliction, 400 years of chattel slavery. What has been done to me and you? So we have to put our brain back together, and we do that. First seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, then God directs us, right? So now we're in the math analysis. Math so difficult. It makes life easy, and we have to understand that Moses took the book of trigonometry up into the caves and hillsides of Europe, and he brought some people that were crawling on their all fours into society again, where they would assume dominance on the planet. And we as black people in America are in that same position of degradation. So God has presented to us math analysis. Math so difficult. It makes life easy. And from math analysis, to put your brain back together where you can once again assume your position on the planet as Khalifa. The black man and black woman in America is the lawgiver, the Khalifa on the planet. So to master math analysis, so I say all that to say that I'm working on an algorithm right now where you can just, it's a methodology of how to study math analysis where you know it. I'll tell you, this one I'll tell you, brothers and sisters. Once you understand and you master math analysis, everything else is easy. That's just it. That means that once you master this, you're a 10-year-old with the language of math analysis. You know how phenomenal you'll be? You'll be, what? It's phenomenal. But we have to get to that point. But you don't even, like, when you come to college, you don't even have professors that's going to help you. Not really. No, they throw you out there to the wolves. And you got to learn it. But with patience and God, just God blessing me, I'm developing an algorithm to make the methodology of studying it very, very easy. This is very easy. But you got to have the correct mindset. You only get that with God. But so again, my contact information is researchpublishingmedia@gmail.com. Listen now, what it is you doing with your life? Like what you going to, like 20 years from now, what you going to be doing? Brothers and sisters, 20 years from now, people be on the streets homeless. Working nothing. Still got to pay bills. So what is you doing? What is you doing? Like clothes and all that ain't no good. What is you really doing? You ain't doing nothing. So if you're serious about your learning, just learn to get to a point where you starting to build something, to get to a point where you now represent a certain department within your nation. You're not just somebody working, you Black American. No, you control the production, certain amount of production for the country of America, Black America. So again, you can contact me, get that foundation when you just about to do this for the next 4 or 5 years, and then you about to decide what you're going to do with your life. Where you going to get the finances from? Yeah, it's on the stock market, but even that, brothers and sisters, look, if you learn that skill of investing on the stock market, and then say you a doctor of genetics, but you hustling on the stock market, and I don't mean like you had to beat your brain to learn it. So I'm developing an algorithm to make it all simple for you to learn. So you need to, if you're serious, just contact me and we will get you through them steps. Let's look at the problem, right? Okay, so what is that saying? You don't even know. Okay. But what we understand is that the function is bounded. It's a bounded function. Right? It has a maximum and a minimum. It's continuous. And this is why also we have a problem. We don't never trust the English language. Like we don't trust, because we don't trust people. We don't trust no. Subconsciously, we don't trust nobody dealing with America. Nothing at all. Even if you do eat the food, you don't trust it. You just pray to God it don't kill you. But that's a problem, because when you start talking about math analysis, you have to trust these words. Like you have to trust that it's continuous. What that means, you have to trust that it's bounded. So until we gain control of our language, we're going to always have a problem with that. But the function, so it says it's continuous and bounded, 0, 1. And then it says that this function right here is equal to this right here. We have to prove that there's a point in this boundary right here, 0, 1/2, such that f of x sub 0 is equal to f of x 0 sub 0 plus 1/2. And we also have a problem too when you start getting into it of having too much information. Because when you start talking about this right here is in this interval 0 to 1/2, also understand it's a closed bounded interval. We start looking at Cartesian, right? Because you see this is just a 0 to 0, the 1/2 is between 0 and 1, then you have 1. So it's just a partition, it could be. So you start going in that area, right? But that's the wrong area. Okay. So let's understand. We're just gonna solve it and try to reference certain points. So they have a theorem. A theorem is just a theory. You got to prove your theory. If you think this seed is going to grow, you say, well, this seed going to grow. Well, you got to prove it, right? You got to put it in the ground, water it, then it grow where you was correct. If it don't grow, you was incorrect. Okay, so they got a theorem. It's called the intermediate value theorem. And this is so fun. I mean, I lie to you not, brothers and sisters. I cannot get you to understand. This is going to be so much fun. Look at it, right? Okay, so what this says is that given, say you got a function g of x less than 0, and then you got another function, not g of x, g of a, and g of b greater than 0. Now, in this case right here, a is 0, and b is 1. B equals 1, so you can write it like this. Right, always the numbers and the variables interchange. That's confusion too, so you got to keep your brain, again, you got to just have your mind set correct. But they say f is continuous in the closed bounded interval 0, 1. So right here we say 0 is A, and we say 1 is B. So let's look, right? The intermediate value theorem says that, look at what it's trying to tell you now. If you have a function less than 0 and you have a function greater than 0, then you have a point in between those two functions. And that point is equal to another function that's equal to that variable, which is equal to 0. So what that's saying again, I'm going to write it again. If you have a function g of a less than 0, if it's less than 0, again the number line 0, negative, positive. If g of a, which is a function, if it's less than 0, that's negative. G of b, if it's greater than 0, that's positive. So again, you have the set, closed bounded set interval, 0 to 1, right? So always understand now, you're interchanging variables and numbers. Variables and numbers. Okay. So if g of a is less than 0 and g of b is greater than 0, then you have a relationship where g of a is less than a variable, and that variable is less than g of b, and that variable is equal to 0, and so you have a function f of x equal to c, which is equal to 0, so you have g of a less than f of x less than or equal to f of x less than or equal to g of b. And the only way you can approach this problem to know to use the intermediate value theorem is you have to recognize that first the function is continuous across a bounded interval. That's what you first have to understand. And then from that understanding, you can apply this theorem to solve this problem. Okay, so look how we do it now. So we say g of a, g of b, g of a, g of b, but then we got f of x, right? So you just got to have all this knowledge, brothers and sisters. So it's not g of a or g of b. In generality, it's just g of x. That's how you start this. That's the basis. Then you can get into specifics. But we're looking for a g of x. Always understand now, we got to prove that f of x sub 0, we got to prove this right here, is equal to f of x sub 0 plus 1/2. Where x sub 0 in the closed bounded set 0, 1/2. So that's x's. Right? But within an interval, you have a whole bunch of x's. Because it's from 0 to 1. And we just naturally assume it's the real number set. So look now, we introduce a new function, g of x. And what we do is we subtract this oh, this is so much fun. We subtract this right here to this side right here. So you subtract it. You subtract it. Okay, so this cancels. Now we have f of x sub 0 minus x0 plus 1/2 equals 0. F of x sub 0 plus 1/2 minus f of x sub 0 plus 1/2 equals 0. So that's the 0, and then we brought it to this side, we subtracted it from this side to give us this right here. And this comes back to the original, got to go back to the original problem now. We get all of our answers from what they have in the original problem. The original problem says that we have to prove that there's an x sub 0 within this closed bounded interval such that those two statements equal. We got to prove that. So what we did was we subtracted this right here to this side right there. That gives us 0, f of x sub 0 minus f of x sub 0 plus 1/2. And then what we do is we equal this to g of x. We introduce a new function. Because remember, the intermediate value theorem says that if the function is on a closed bounded interval, then there is a chance that you have a g of a less than 0, a g of b greater than 0, such that there's a variable in between those two functions that equals 0 that equals f of x. So we're trying to get to that point. So now we got the g of x in there, right? And understand too now how we just put it there. Always understand we was talking about one variable equals y. That's the same thing. Y could be g. I can see again, but once you learn what's going on, you can do it however you want to do it. You can say f of x is equal to 2 touchdowns. That's a lot of writing, right? It's going to be a lot of writing confusion, but you can say f of x is equal to 2 and just use 2 touchdowns all the time. Okay. So let's see where we go from here. Okay. So now we talk about continuity. We talk about continuity. F is a continuous function along this interval, 0 to 1. Now understand that 0 to 1/2 is within 0 to 1. Understand that. So f is a continuous function. That means f of x sub 0 plus 1/2 is also a continuous function. The difference, this is a difference subtraction. The difference of two continuous functions is a continuous function. The addition of natural numbers is a natural number. Is that correct? The natural number set, that's just 1, 2, 3, 4 to infinity. So if you take any two numbers out of the natural number set, that'll give you a natural number. That's something called the closure property. So the difference in two continuous functions is a continuous function. That's important. That means that g of x is continuous. Okay. So what this means is that, remember now, x sub 0 within a closed bounded set. That means that g of x is continuous across that closed bounded set. See how we just freak that thing like that? You have to find, look, the difference in two continuous functions is a continuous function. So g of x is a continuous function. Now we have x sub 0 in this bounded interval, so that's what we're speaking about. So g of x is continuous in this closed bounded interval. Okay. So what's the next step? Oh, what's the next step? Okay. I did not want to look, brothers and sisters, but I might have to look, right? I don't want to take up too much time, brain thought, right? Okay. So, how do we prove? There's a way to prove continuity. Continuity says that x minus x sub 0 is less than delta, implies that g of x minus g of x sub 0 is less than epsilon. That's something called epsilon delta language. That's just to give you a further understanding of what's going on. This is this is heaven fire confusion, but you got to just stay with it. This is what it's like. Whenever you go into a neighborhood, if that's your first time being there, you ain't gonna know nothing. Yeah, you know what a street is and what street signs is and all of that, houses and yards. But you don't really know where you are, but you know it's a neighborhood. But over time, you start learning what street is what street. You become fluent in the neighborhood. But it was a time where you ain't know nothing. It's like looking into outer space or looking into heaven. When you look into heaven and you see the stars and they have certain patterns that you can recognize, initially you don't know none of that, right? But over time, I love it, right? Because when you go out, that's like a neighborhood, right? And you just start recognizing, so if these stars are right here, you know it's a star pattern over here. You know it's a star pattern over here. You know it's a star pattern over here. So you become familiar with the neighborhood. So it's the same thing with math analysis. Okay. So this shows continuity. Now, we go back to the initial statement. F of 0 is equal to F of 1. So, if we have said that g of x is equal to f of x minus f of x, what is it, plus 1/2. What we now want to do is look at this function right here at the endpoints of this interval. That's all we have, so that's what we have to use. So you have 0 and 1/2. So you have x equals 0, x equals 1/2. And what we want to do is put this into this equation to see what happens. So at g of 0, we have f of 0 minus 0 plus 1/2. X equals 0 plus the 1/2. That gives us f of 0 minus 1/2. Understand, that's very simple, but it can be confusing because it's so much writing. But what we did was we took the endpoints of this interval, proved that there exists an x sub 0. Don't worry about the sub 0 part yet. We're just focusing on x. In the closed interval 0 to 1/2, such that this statement equals. So we took 0, which is the minimum of this closed bounded set. And when we substituted 0, remember x equals 0, wherever you see an x substituted, we got f sub 0 minus 0 plus 1/2, which gives you f of 0 minus f of 1/2. So then we do the same thing with the 1/2 of the closed set. We say g of 1 over x, x equals 1/2, equals f over 1/2 minus f of 1/2 plus 1/2, which gives us f of 1/2 minus f of 1. G of 1/2 equals f of 1/2 minus f of 1. G of 0 equals f of 0 minus f of 1/2. But look at what the problem says. The problem says that f of 0 equals f of 1. So we have f of 1 right here. We can change that. So we can rewrite g of 1/2 to say that f of 1/2 minus f of 0, right? All we did from what they gave us, f of 0 is equal to f of 1/2. When we put the endpoints of this closed interval into g of x, we get two equations. And one of the equations was f of 1/2 minus f of 1. But it says right here, f of 1 equals 0. You could do it either way, but we just choosing f of 1 equals 0. So we put f of 0 into this equation, and we get this equation right here. But if you look, this equation right here is almost like this equation right here. F of 1/2 minus f of 0, f of 0 minus f of 1/2 is just a difference in the sign. Right here, f of 0 is negative, f of 1/2 is positive. Right here, f of 1/2 is negative, f of 0 is positive. So if you multiply g of 1/2 times a negative 1, this will give you negative g 1/2 is equal to negative f of 1/2 plus f of 0. And if you look at g sub 0, if you look at g of 0, f of 0 equals, f of 0 minus f of 1/2. So now they're equal. Understand that. All we did was we recognized that the two equations were kind of the same. If we multiply this equation right here by -1, that changes the signs throughout the entire equality. So now these two equations are equal. Let's look at it now. So now you have negative g 1/2 is equal to g0, f of 0 minus f of 1/2 equals f of 0 minus f of 1/2. They're equal. If we didn't put the -1, if we didn't multiply the g of x, what was the g of 1/2? We had to multiply by -1 to get the signs to change. And once the signs change, they now equal each other. Right? So look now. Told you this is fun. So look, right? So now they equal each other. Not only do they equal each other, but you got negative g of x, not g of x. You got negative g of 1/2, which is what? Less than 0. And you got g of 0, which is greater than 0, necessarily. But the whole point with the intermediate volume theorem is that if you have a function that changes sign, then it get particular. They got something called the location of roots. That's another theorem that you use, like you use a theorem Then you have another theorem within that theorem, the location of the roots theorem. What that says, sort of, kind of, in correlation with the intermediate value theorem. The intermediate value theorem says that also that if you have a function g of x that changes signs, right? Professor put it on the board real good. From negative to positive, this is negative, this is positive, here's 0, so here's negative, positive. So if you have a function that goes from here, negative g of 1/2, to positive g of 0, then the intermediate value theorem says that between those two functions, you're going to have a variable equal to 0, and that variable is equal to f of x equals c equals 0. So to just cut through everything, remember now, a is just g of 1/2, less than or equal to c, less than or equal to g of 0. Same thing. Same thing. Okay. So let's see where we are, if we can get through this madness. So such that there's a, okay. Okay, so that's really it, that's the end of it. So let me show you to it again. The intermediate, I'm not satisfied, that's why I said it like that, like I'm not, it's like when you start looking at the madness with this right here, it's still, I feel like it's still not proven. But again, I'm trying to get my skill to a certain point where I can just do what I want to do with it. But the intermediate value theorem says that if you have a function, g of x, that changes signs, you have a negative g of x, you have a positive g of x, then there's a function or a variable in between these two functions, and that function or that variable equals 0. So let's understand, right? So now we just seen that we have a variable g of x, but now we're going to say g sub 0, meaning at a specific point. Remember now, that's a good point I wanted to touch on. I wanted to really explain this part. You have a variable. A variable can be any number, depending on where you put it. If you put it in the numbers, remember it's the number system. If you put it in a number set, not the natural number set, but if you put it in the number system, this variable can be any number. But when you say the variable equals a numerical value, we're just talking about one number, just one number. Okay, I say that because we got c equals 0 from the intermediate value theorem. But right here we have x sub 0. So that x sub 0 is just another way to say that it's a finite number. It's a specific value. It's not a variable where it can be whatever number you want. It's a specific value. So now we know that x sub 0 is a specific value. Right? So what we say is, we know that g of x sub 0, not g of x now. G of x is a whole bunch of, it could be whatever. We're talking about g of x sub 0, because we just found out that this right here equals 0, and this is the function we was looking for between g of a less than or equal to g of x sub 0 less than or equal to g of b. Remember the theorem now. The theorem says that if you have a function g of x that changes signs, that means you have the Cartesian coordinates, if it goes from a negative to a positive, the function changes signs. Then you have a number in between those two functions that's equal to 0. So we call that function g of x sub 0 equals 0. So look now, look how they freak this thing now. We have to prove that we have to prove this right here. Well, look, if we subtract this from both sides, and we subtract it from this side right here, this is 0, right? This is f of x sub 0 minus f of x sub 0 plus 1/2. And what did we say? We said that this was equal to what? G of x. Not only did we find out it was equal to g of x, but it's equal to g of x sub 0. Because we know that g of x sub 0 is equal to 0 when you have a function g of x that has opposite signs. So now we have g of x sub 0 is equal to f of x sub 0 minus f of x sub 0 plus 1/2 equal to 0. Ha! Yo! You trying to be a doctor and what? I'm talking about brothers and sisters, you like 15, 16 years old. You done stopped going to school. And your parents just done sat you down listening to Mr. Sharia and God, listening to God and Mr. Sharia. They sat you down with a math analysis book. Now you 15, 16, shit, you reading all kind of things to put a value on yourself. That's what I'm trying to tell you, brother. If I run up on you, I ain't got no money. That's what I'm trying to tell you. When you go to the stock market, you got Caucasian people on the stock market with billions of dollars. Like when I talked to my Muslim brothers, and I was saying like, look, y'all should come on to college and get your doctorate in math. Then go back to Arabia and Africa, where all these black men control this oil and get some of that oil money. Show them brothers that we just not no niggas from America. We got things on our mind. With a control of math analysis, everything is so simple. Okay. God say that there are things that make you wealthy in the immediate, but in the long term it makes you poverty. And there are things in the immediate that make you poverty, but in the long term it makes you wealthy. So g of x sub 0 is equal to f of x sub 0 minus f of x sub 0 plus 1/2 is equal to 0. And we can say this is equal to 0. I initially was trying to understand it. I think we still had to prove it, but if you just naturally subtract, right, then that's going to be equal to 0. Then we set it equal. But that's a little bit quicker way to do it. So we're going to come back and we're going to do it like that too. That's what I'm trying to learn, right? And like again, I got a professor that's like, you know, he teaching this. And like his language, I like how like the language, his language, it's really the language when you got, so we solved it, we calculated it. But then you got to write it in like a paragraph, explaining it. So it's just certain languages you use, certain words you use when you start to understand how people be learning the English language and the grammatics and how that's important. So you got g of x sub 0 equals f of x sub 0 minus f of x sub 0 plus 1/2. And we proved that that's equal to 0. So if that's equal to 0, what we do is we just add. We go back and reverse just to make sure. Equal to 0 plus. So if you add it, right, these two cancel, and you get f of x sub 0 is equal to f of x plus 1/2. That's what we wanted to prove. Ain't that what we wanted to prove? Look now, let me take some of this down. Listen what I'm trying to tell you, I lie to you not. I lie to you not. Let me write it back up here, right? Now look at what the question asked you now. Let f in a continuous closed bounded interval, and f of 0 is equal to f of 1. They give us that. Prove that there exists an x sub 0 in the closed bounded interval 0, 1/2, such that f of x sub 0 is equal to f of x sub 0 plus 1/2. And so right here, we just proved it. What? Woo! That's just a first step. First step. But you know, all praise to you, Allah, Lord of the world. Okay. Math so difficult, it made life easy. Oh, we thank you, Almighty Allah, for that. I want to do another one, right? You know, just to get you, this is what I'm trying to tell you, brothers and sisters. And let me tell you about the test, right? So I took the test, right? And I did what I did okay. Like, you know, when the professor flexed, it ain't nothing you could do about it. Like, again, we being taught in like a box, right? Unless you took the steps when you younger and you just got a good foundation, you can get outside the box and all that. But you know, when he flexed, when the professor flexed in math, you got to go high up to research where he get that from. And if you don't know it, then you ain't gonna know it. So I already know that. But I got upset with myself. Oh, it'd be trauma. I have had to learn how to deal with it. Oh, he had a real basic. And again, like I was trying to tell you, when I be in the class, right, you gotta, it be on, you know what I'm saying? So we be frantic in our mind, because you know we traumatized. But then when you go outside and God give you that light, oh, it just can't. But I'm gonna show you how I got stuck on stupid, right? So we had the one thing, it's called cosine expansion, cosine series expansion. Again, talks about periodicity. That's like a high level of probability. If you know the sine function, cosine function, if you know what it's going to do over time, say x is the time axis, and you know what it's going to do right here, but you only have a function that goes to right here, well, it don't really matter, because it's a periodic type of function. You done transformed it, or you done translated it into a period function. You understand that? Oh, that's powerful. But look now, let me tell you something. So he gave us a crazy function too, right? So the function went like this, and then it dropped down to right here, right? And it went right here, right? What was it? Sine? Yeah, it was sine. It was a sine expansion, sine series expansion. I'm gonna tell you what happened, right? So when you talk about a sine series expansion, right, it's a 180-degree rotation. Like, you know, this class be going real fast, so you can't really get into the theory until you get later on. Again, that's like a graduate study. But it's a 180-degree rotation, right? So it's like this right here, this right here, this right here, and that's 0, right? So it's like, so I got that right. I mean, I might have got that right. I don't know, right? So I got that part right, but I got stuck on stupid, right? Because I forgot. I ain't know that we just still, it'd be chattel slavery. We still be dumb, right? So in my mind, when I kept rotating at 180 degrees, and then I don't even know if it's right or not, right? We don't really, cause we ain't really, I mean, we don't really have the time to theorize it, right? So, you know, again, it's fast paced. So that's always there, right? But because I had drew, everything was a little piece of paper, right? So I had drew the graph so small. So I got stuck, right? I kept, in my mind, I didn't realize the graph kept going out. So when I rotated, like, you got the graph come up right here. You got these points right here. So I kept rotating. Instead of rotating this point right here and right there, and then rotating that right there like that. So this is the graph right here, right? That's the expansion part, the period part. I kept rotating it back like yo, that thing, and then the time, you ain't got, then, you know, it was another question, right? So I pray you don't take, I don't know, right? I mean, he cool as hell too, right? But I pray he don't hurt me. You got some professors that'll hurt you, right? But I sit and I look at it, right? It's just so funny. It's just real funny, right? Cause I was like, damn, I know the joint how it worked, right? Then again, he done already flexed. He flexed his muscle on number 2, right? So you don't never really know. Like, he might show you something new you ain't never seen before. You don't really know it, right? So I was like, damn. So I rotated it back again. I was like, damn, that's the same graph. I got stuck on this axis right here, right? Instead of realizing, then I had studied it. I don't know, all praise to you, Allah. But I missed them points. I could have got them points. Remember now, it's 100 points. So I just wanted to say that. So I was sitting there messing with it. I was like, damn, if you rotate it again, you come back to here. So that's the same graph, but no, God said, no, right there. Right there, go on like that, right? Well, other than that, we was on point. Other than, you know, I don't know that, like, you know, I could theorize. I could have put some analysis on it. That's what I seen too. I could have started using my analysis, but again, we ain't coming outside, brothers and sisters, because these professors will make you look stupid. And I didn't look stupid before, and just, it was a principle type of situation where it didn't hurt so bad. But no, we gonna sit and we gonna listen. So I probably did all right, right? You know, again, we just trying to, initially I had a 4.0. We was trying to keep that. So now I'm just at a point where, you know, I'm just trying to, I know what's going on, right? That's how I want to be, right? Okay. So the test was all right. It was average, right? Even if, like, Allah forbid I failed it, but even if I did fail it, now I know to a certain point the heat equation, and we kind of fluent, and we love differentials and partial differentials. Now again, I'm a theoretician, again. So we're not theorizing really none of that, but to do the math calculations, and that's engineering, right? That's borderline them steps. Where I'm gonna engineer some on the heat equation. Oh, we know all of that, brothers and sisters. Okay. So now we're at concluding. Let me see what time it is. Oh, we got 15 minutes. Okay, we might keep it moving till somebody come and knock on the door. If somebody else has this room. So let's talk about ballistics. We talk about firearms. We talk about the pistol. We talk about the trigger mechanism. Trigger mechanism. We want to learn how that works. Now we had our brothers that come to find out, I think they were from Vietnam. They were actually military scientists for the Vietnam country. So we want to thank them for the work they did with the dynamics. But I took a look at the mathematics, and it's what I thought, right? You know, when we gain control of math, like you might see it sometimes when I say we got to prove it, a lot of times it's intuitive, but it's what I thought, right? You know, when you gain control of that math, you apply that math to anything. So they applied the math to something that really didn't make no sense. It was it's like they applied the math to the handle of the gun, how it just sits. So if you have a pistol, say you have a pistol, there was like an underwater pistol. And you know how sometimes you might have a handle of a pistol, whatever type of handle you have. So they took high-level math and they just applied it to the handle. Like, what is it doing? It's not doing nothing. But they did the math on it doing nothing, and that's what I kind of figured it was going to be. So we're not going to use that paper, that journal article. So I started looking on the internet. And that's why I wanted to have a computer where you could just actually see it. They have some it looked real good on the computer. But I came out with a couple journal articles. And this right here this is the United States Patent Application Publication. Right, this is one I came out with. And again, you could just, you know, I ain't trying to hot you up, get you all heated with the computer police. But you can just Google the trigger mechanism, the dynamics of the trigger mechanism of a pistol. You can just Google that, and they'll give you and just put PDF where you can get it on the download. And we also have a European patent application. You got a handgun mechanism analysis. I think we're going to start off with the patent first, just to give us a better, this right here, this gives us a better diagram of what the inside of a pistol looks like. So we're talking about, again, no foolishness. How do you build a trigger for a pistol? And then you can evolve into building the trigger for any type of firearm, rifle or whatever, right? That's a first stage in developing what you're thinking about. So when you go out into the world, you'll have more than just potato chips and sodas on your mind. More than just mopping the floor, beating on a cash register. Put yourself in a superior position. Understand, when you talk about Ezra could read and write the scripture of Moses. When people can't do that. The king had to go to Daniel. Listen now, the nation of Judah, right? Start talking about Charles Drew, these supermen. Charles Drew, Nat Turner, them sisters for NASA, even though they was doing it, even with the brother that graduated from Tuskegee, he did the water gun. These are superheroes, brothers, and the black man that made the video, the cell phone, the video arcade, what you look at when you play the video games. Superheroes, black people that got a value on themselves. Anywhere them sisters go that was doing that thing, now you know they women, so you take advantage of the black woman. But if they actually knew their value, instead of just doing it, now you got to pay me. You got to pay us millions of dollars. Like I always say, they're not gonna give you the company, but no, you got to pay us. You got to pay me for what this is worth if I choose to do it. Okay. And understand this, our objective, well, we got a couple objectives, but one of our objectives is to start, I don't even know what it's called, a metallurgy company, where we actually going into the ground. We dealing with a country of people where we can go them, they look just like us, black people, right? We got nice relations with them, networking, right? We pay them what it's worth, good business. We go into the ground, we put up the metal, we build for all of us. Well, we have a metallurgy, I'll say I got to learn that language, but we have a metallurgy factory where we're melting massive amounts of metal into certain type of moldings. It's not just for a pistol, it's for whatever. But we can do a pistol if that's what you want. We can do that. And that's what it's all about. Okay. So let's look at this right here, what it says. You can get this from the internet now. It's right on the internet. It says United States Patent Application Publication. Then they give you a whole bunch of reference numbers. It says trigger mechanism for a pistol, and then it gives the inventor. It gives the inventor. Okay, big shout out to the inventor. He invented this. That means he got knowledge, right? Got the, and look, he came out with his own patent. It don't say Smith & Wesson. It don't say Ruger. It got his name on it. So he trying to hustle this. He filed this patent in 2014. Okay. So big shout out to this person right here. Okay, let's read the abstract. A pistol having a sliding hammer. Okay. A trigger mechanism including a trigger rod. Okay. An automatic safety which can engage the sliding hammer okay, they have a sliding hammer. They don't have a, let me see something. They don't have a hammer like on a, oh, let's see if we can see how that works. They call that 5, let me see something. The sliding hammer. And a 2-arm lever mounted on the axis. Okay. Let me see if I can, let me see something. Okay, brothers and sisters, that's what it looks like. Now, if you look at number 5, let me read it to you again. Okay, let me see where you can see it. Okay, let's look at the numbers now. Number 5 is a sliding hammer. You can't really see it though. The trigger mechanism, the trigger rod. Now look at the trigger rod. The trigger rod is number 2. Now remember when we were talking about the firing pistol, the underwater firing pistol, that was more slanted. This trigger rod looks more like more like it's going to work. Like let's look at the two different designs. Remember the underwater pistol, it had the trigger, and then it had the sliding rod, right, with the little groove, and then it had the slide, that's the slide latch, and that's the slide. So this was this right here, right? Like that's gonna break, right? You pull the trigger, this go back, and then it slide forward. But this right here, this sliding latch, it go like this. You got the trigger. This sliding latch is fastened right here. It goes up, comes down, and comes up. That's a little bit more stable, right? You see that? Huh? Let me do it again. we talking about designs. We talking about designs of a pistol, right? The sliding latch. You got the trigger. You have a trigger, right? What you gonna put your finger on? Now it's the slide latch. The slide latch connects the trigger to the slide. The slide has the firing pin. We got to find the firing pin on this one. But for this right here, you got the trigger. This slide latch is a little bit more stable, right? You got this right here. This is a brake right there. Over time, wear and tear. But look how they got this right here stable. Where you got them angles right here. So when you pull that trigger, that angle gonna brace that jump, right? So you can pull this all day, and okay. So let's understand, right? So look at the designs, the difference. That's just in recognizing the different designs in the slide latch. So let me show it to you again and read it to you again. So number 2, number 5 is the sliding hammer. Look at point number 2. Point number 2 is the trigger rod or the slide latch. Hold on, 10. Okay, no. Okay, but this is what it looks like. Okay. Well, let's see if we can get some details. I'm trying to still understand what this sliding hammer is, because we need to see it's the hammer that creates the force, I'm assuming. Is that the firing pin? Do they give us a firing pin? Okay, so let's see what this patent says. The trigger mechanism for a pistol. Invention, he calls it an invention. What is an invention of? Trigger okay, so this is, it's all praise to you, Lord. This is what we were looking for, right? Sort of, kind of, right? Because we want to get the math on it. He probably ain't going to give us no math, but this is all the metallurgy of it, like what you got to, how you got to make these parts from metal, right? Then you can put math on it to see how it would work. But this is the trigger mechanism for a pistol. He might have used that word incorrectly. Invention refers to the armament industry, namely to the trigger mechanism of the pistol with percussion firing mechanisms. The trigger mechanism such and such, such and such, which transfers the energy to the firing pin. Okay, the trigger mechanism of the pistol with percussion firing mechanism at the trigger pull ensures the trigger arming and release, which transfers the energy to the firing. You have something at 2 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's not 2 o'clock yet.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
It is right now.
Yeah, if you can give me 5 minutes, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You shut the door, please. Always remember, brothers and sisters, it's 2 o'clock? Okay, it's 2. Okay.